welcome back to another part of this F1 25 My Team Career Mode. This is part number 4 today. Last time out at the Bahrain Grand Prix, well, we had an absolute show from the AI. We had 3 separate 3-wide moments on the same straight. Insanity, and then battles galore. AI mistakes. It was really quite something last time out. It was a difficult race for us, pace-wise, but, you know, we're a new team on this grid. We're never going to be on pace every single time. We're going to have ups and downs, and it's about weathering the storm when those races happen, and also just trying to learn more about this new game, obviously, and get more to grips with the car that we've got in this first season as well in those sort of races. You know, I was very happy with the hard tire stint, for example, that we did around Sakir. But now, going into this part in the Career Hub, we've got some good news from our secondary sponsor scouting event that we implemented in that last part, where obviously the corporate side of things just goes out and tries to find some secondary sponsors. You don't sometimes get them, and then sometimes you do. We've already had one of these come through, and this is the second time now that we've had a secondary sponsor come back to us from this searching activity, if you will. I'm going to go ahead and replace one of the sponsors on the side of the chassis, because this same sponsor, we've actually got it placed 4 times, so we can afford to swap it out with this new one. I feel like anytime we get a new sponsor, we definitely should be putting it on the car. We've got a couple of other sponsors that we haven't actually used so far on the car as well. So as well as putting this new logo on the side of the chassis, I'm actually going to go ahead and swap out one of the sponsors, X-Forming, our title sponsor. I had them on the mirrors. I thought I may as well introduce one of the other new sponsors that we've not utilized so far to try and maximize our spread, if you will, when it comes to brands on this car. And then finally, I thought about swapping out the Slipstream fuel, is it? Or Slingshot fuel, sorry, on the nose cone. With JPB, just to swap it out, keep it a little bit different on the nose going into this episode and the next few. And then also I swapped out the logo that JPB had on the engine cover, because I noticed that that logo was the one that ended up on the chest on the overall. So I'm hoping maybe into the next episode the game will recognize that and swap it out, and that'll be kind of nice to have the same logo we see on the Halo on the chest of the overalls. That's just my kind of, you know, nitpicky designer mind in me. I can't let that go. I kind of want things to be exactly how I want them, you know, and you guys well know that, you know, from previous F1 games, with all the intricacies we go to with modding and designing stuff after Season 1, which obviously will be coming once we cross over into Season 2. But for now, trying to keep it as vanilla as we can, in-game as we can, utilizing the new decal editor. So we don't have too much time left from now until the next Grand Prix in the actual in-game timeline. So annoyingly, I still can't do that owner training to establish that perk I purchased to get R&D when a development failed. So we still have to do that training. I implemented a corporate bit of activity whilst we could, because it was the only thing that fit. And then in the meantime, at least, we've got level 1 now, an upgrade to our facilities coming in. This is the upgrade to the chassis side for development. So you guys already know from the last part, or I think part 2 even, we purchased simultaneous researching on the chassis. Well, I've now done that for the development, so we've got that in now. So now we can do simultaneous for either for that side of the car, the chassis side of things. And we're now getting some more upgrades coming in. I think that was an air upgrade, and we've assigned it to Tramnits, because as you guys pointed out, maybe it's actually worth to give priority upgrades to our F3 driver, the lower rated driver, to boost him so that when I do drive as Jenson, we actually have Tramnits performing a little bit better, because he's got a better car underneath him, and I can make up the difference as the player with the, you know, the car that doesn't have that upgrade straight off the bat. As I said last time out, we've got quite a fair bit of R&D, but we can't deploy a lot of it because of the bottleneck of our facilities, the bottleneck of the slots available. But for the first time, very nicely on the bottom left there, you saw, for the first time, I could actually use 2 slots on the chassis. So that was quite an exciting thing to be able to develop 2 parts simultaneously for the first time. So I'm hoping we can really make a lot of progress in the chassis in the episodes to come now that we have that simultaneous research and development. And I'll be obviously looking to, you know, spend some more money on some facility upgrades slowly but surely, you know, to get to a point where we've got that on every department. But it's a slow and steady burn. It's something that is very clear to me already, you know, very early days in this series, is they have constructed all of this gameplay, the management gameplay, in a way where it's really trying to force you to take your time. You can't really rush through a lot of these upgrades. And I get the sense it's going to take a little bit of time to, you know, be able to afford all the upgrades that I kind of want with the different departments and how I want it to operate. You know, I'm finding myself kind of going, oh, okay, yeah, cool. We can't do another research bit. We can't do another development because we don't have the facilities for it. And we can only actually purchase one facility upgrade at a time. You actually have to upgrade. I think it's the personnel side. There's actually an upgrade on the personnel tab to allow you to buy 2 facility upgrades at the same time. So the actual mechanic of buying a facility upgrade in and itself has an upgrade. So it's like levels on levels of really trying to slow you down with this development. So to that effect, I'm having a look here. I'm strongly considering another engineering upgrade, but I'm also considering getting one of those upgrades on personnel to allow the expansion of 2 facility improvements at the same time. And they're broken down into engineering, personal, corporate. Obviously, I'd go for engineering because I want to be able to make 2 engineering facility upgrades, because that's really the big area where I'm focusing on. I don't think we're going to do any corporate upgrades, honestly, to about Season 2. The corporate upgrades, in my opinion, at this stage, early on, they look so expensive where it's not worth your time as a small F1 team right now. That comes later. But for now, I'm going to upgrade one of the facilities for the engineering, and that's going to be aerodynamic development. So not research, development. So I still have to take it one by one on researching aero parts, but once I research them, I can develop 2 at the same time. And for me, I'm seeing that that's more useful than having the research simultaneous, because I'm finding you can actually bank research because it takes so much time to come in, and then you're left with multiple parts you want to develop. So that's why I went for the development instead. And then I've really got my eye on the personnel upgrade to allow 2 engineering HQ upgrades at the same time. But right now I don't have the funds for that because we've only got 1.5 million. I think you need to have a little bit of cash reserve just in case, I think, to like pay the salaries of your staff, your drivers. So right now I'm not going to go ahead and purchase that, but that will probably be one of my next purchases, as once again we have a development failing, and once again so annoying that I don't have that owner perk to give us extra R&D because of it, because I don't have the time right now to train my owner in that department. So that's frustrating, but it is what it is. That's kind of how it goes at the start of these games. There is a lot of frustration with, you know, being a small team, but that's just how, you know, obviously ambitious you are of wanting to grow the team, and that's what makes you hungry for more success. As we go into the Saudi Arabian Grand Prix, Tim Tramnitz with 2 extra upgrades to JB. And with regards to looking to the rest of the grid, so you can see we are slowly making progress to maybe catching the likes of Kick Sauber and Alpine. It's still so incredibly tight in that midfield. There's a couple of upgrades subtly you can see, maybe for Williams, it looks like, to get closer to Aston. Merck upgrading to get closer to Ferrari. Red Bull trying to maintain pace, but McLaren clearly still ahead. And, you know, after last time out, maybe finally now making use of their car, with Lando getting a first win of the season. I think, though, at Jeddah, this has always been a really great circuit for me, and I think it's also a great circuit for the My Team car. You know, with the nature of the circuit, DRS, if you can stay in the DRS of a rival ahead of you, you can kind of game it and really help yourself out in the race. So I'm looking forward to this one, and I think we can do well. And because I think we can do well, I actually think we can score points today. I'm going to drive as JB, and I'm going to leave Tim Tramnitz with a better car to see what he can do, just to test that theory, but also just keep the pattern going of a checkerboard of driving for one or the other. And yeah, we're going to drive as JB, and I'm hoping maybe maybe there's a chance of scoring his first points of the season and on his return to Formula One.
Welcome to the Jeddah Corniche, one of the fastest circuits on the calendar. But let's see who'll be fastest of them all. We're about to set the grid for the Saudi Arabian Grand Prix. Yes, it's qualifying.
Looking forward to this one. Jeddah is always one of the best races on the F1 game, just action galore, and that was even the case on last year's F1 game, and that was with the atrocious AI. So this year's AI, I'm very much looking forward to seeing how this race pans out. But another night race where, like in Bahrain, this game visually just takes a step up and is so gorgeous to look at. And you know what? The video won't do it justice because it's going to lose a bit of, quality with the processing of the rendering, the processing uploading to YouTube. With my own two eyes whilst I'm playing the game, it's even better than it comes out on the YouTube video with the path tracing. And I've said it quite a few times in videos, but it's only just because I'm still so shocked. I'm still so shocked how good it looks. Anyways, though, we've got some focusing to do, and I hope the lap itself is looking pretty all right. I mean, P10 off the bat, quicker than Lawson and Stroll. Less than half a second off a Sauber, but the Sauber is that much quicker, so there clearly is maybe more time to find there. And it looks like we may have found that time on the second lap. Purple first sector for now, and 2 greens gets us up to P12, a significant improvement of about, 7/10 across the line, I think, as we now watch our teammate Tramnit, because I was actually confident we could get through into Q2 with that time, but I wanted to save that third set of softs so that if we made it through to Q2, we could actually do Q2 properly. And with the final couple of seconds to go, Tramnit's P16 ahead of a couple of big names. So I was actually quite, I was hopeful of the performance there for him and for me. But lo and behold, as we go to the results screen, unfortunately, I missed out by a tiny amount. I would 100% have gone quicker if I did a third lap, even on a scrub set, in hindsight, of soft tyres. I was just so focused on saving a new set for Q2 that we haven't even bloody made Q2 because of that. I only needed like half a tenth on even a used set of softs and we would have got through. But alas, P17, that's still a bit of, operational learning that we need to do on this game and get into a rhythm. But in the end of it, it means that Tramnitz is only 2 places behind me. On merit, obviously, with a better car. That's very promising, actually. He's only 2/10 off us with his final lap time. So that's actually very, very promising for where the car is going. With those upgrades eventually making its way to this car eventually. But for now, we're going to have to just once again try and do some good work from a bit further back on the grid. But compared to Bahrain, I am confident we can make positions because Jeddah, you can make overtakes. If you get in a bit of a rhythm with DRS, you can make things work. Let's go to Sunday.
We've got fast sweeping corners under the lights and 20 racers all ready to write their name into the quickly growing history of the Saudi Arabian Grand Prix. It's time to see how our drivers are stacking up after yesterday's exciting qualifying session. Lando Norris put in a fantastic lap yesterday and he'll start from pole position with Charles Leclerc alongside. Looking at the rest of today's grid, we have Russell, Hamilton, Max Verstappen and Piastri, Tsunoda, Antonelli, Albon and Fernando Alonso, Gasly, Behrman, Nico Hülkenberg and Bortoletto, Hadjar, Button, Carlos Sainz and Tim Tramnitz, Ocon, Stroll, Lawson and Jack Doohan rounds off the grid. And with lights out just moments away, it's time to go down to the track. And alongside me, a man, well, what more can I say? But he's a legend, Anthony Davidson. Look, we know it's not where you start, it's where you finish. But let's talk about the start now. What's there to help the drivers get away well?
Big pressure at the start of the race, Crofty, for all of them up and down the grid, no matter where you are. But the drivers these days, they practice, practice and practice. They have rigs with them at the circuit where they can sit down with the actual steering wheel from the real car, and they've got lights that they react to. The clutch paddle is tailored around the driver's hands, around their fingers, so they can have optimum position before they start. So there's so much thought and effort that goes into getting these cars off the line.
So strategy-wise here, I think for the first time, I really want to try and do a one-stop. So far, this car has not had the tyre wear, you know, capabilities like the upgrades, because obviously 0 upgrades so far on the tyre wear side of things, to be able to do a one-stop at any of the Grand Prix. Like, we felt the tyre wear, you know, even Australia, I was tempted, but it was just too much. We were making mistakes, losing the back end. But around Jeddah, I think we can gain so much from doing one less stop and having that track position. And in the past, it's probably been one of the better circuits to pull off a one-stop, even if you have high tyre wear. I just feel like we need to give it a go. You know, 4th episode in, let's try it. Even if we do suffer a bit of pain, maybe, let's give it a go and see how it works out. And I think if it does work, it can pay us massive dividends, and we can really catapult ourselves, hopefully, up into the top 10. So for this race, we're hoping to channel our inner Jenson Button and be as smooth as we can with the driving to eke out the tyres and be a tyre whisperer today as we get to 5 red lights for the Saudi Arabian Grand Prix. Lights out, and we're underway. McLaren, Ferrari on the front row. We've got plenty of different cars ahead of us. 2 Saubers, a Haas, an Alpine, 4 wide nearly, 3 wide now. Behrman, Gasly, and Hulkenberg. We're in the middle of a sandwich ourselves. Bortoletto, and I think that's Hajar or Sainz Hajar on the right-hand side. Bortoletto tries to get us, and he might just do so, although he hits the bump on the inside. We get the better racing line. He's still committed as ever, but we just about call his bluff on that side-by-side and get ahead for P14. So in the end, it's a pretty tidy getaway. And then look at this. Oh, we nearly get caught up with Gasly. Bortoletto comes back at us now as everyone bunched up with Hulkenberg and Behrman. Side by side, they slowed up Gasly, and we nearly rear-ended the Frenchman, and we're still committing to making the overtake on Gasly, the man who's impressed so far in the season. You know, multiple top 10s for the Alpine this season, but this time we've got the measure of him. It doesn't look like the Alpine's too quick around here, probably owing to the Renault engine being very much down on power, as we're up into P13, and once again in familiar company with the likes of Behrman and Hulkenberg. Meanwhile, up at the sharp end, or the top 10 to say, Albon in the middle of 2 Red Bulls. So Red Bull continuing now to suffer a little bit in performance, as maybe it just, you know, maybe Ferrari and McLaren, they needed a couple of races to get into a groove, because now you've got a 1-4 for McLaren, a 2-3 for Ferrari, and that is a very aggressive looking Hamilton going for the move on his own teammate as we cut back to our POV, and Gasly has a good run. So the irony of me roasting the Alpine Renault engine there, Gasly actually had a very good run on us, you know, owing to, obviously, the Alpine's probably got much better ERS capabilities at this point. That's another thing. Not only am I feeling the tyre wear, or the lack of tyre wear upgrades on this car, we also now quickly need some ERS upgrades. The baseline My Team car always drains battery so quickly, and it's so frustrating trying to keep up with the cars around us, as Albon is trying his best to hold up Tsunoda. Alonso might get involved, Antonelli not too far away, so it might be a 3-way fight going on a 4-way fight for the bottom end of the top 10 points. Tsunoda and Alonso now side by side. Albon will have to just be relegated to P9 and watching that battle, and Tsunoda holds off Alonso to make it 6-7 for Red Bull at the moment. But they, like in Bahrain, just lacking that last little bit to maybe have a go at the cars ahead, unlike in the first 2 rounds where Verstappen clearly pulled off some sort of miracle, basing off what we're seeing now, where he is obviously still the same driver, but he's only able to get up to P6. So, or either that or McLaren and Ferrari, the subtle upgrades they've made, are actually making that difference now in the race. I don't know. As Hamilton set to fastest lap of the Grand Prix onto lap 4, we continue to watch Behrman and Hulkenberg. They've been having a little squabble, swapping on and off into every turn 1, the last corner, and we're waiting. We're waiting for that opportunity to make something happen, to maybe catch both of them napping as we get, incredibly close to Hulkenberg's rear end and feeling the dirty air, which also, by the way, I've not mentioned it so far, but the dirty air on this game is very apparent compared to F1 24. Like you like actually genuinely feel so much less downforce when you're tucked up right behind the car, which is great, obviously. That's actually helping the AI battles we're seeing as well. But it definitely means you have to be very wary when you're behind the car and having to commit and try and go for the move just like this as early as you dare, as we go from right to the middle and make it 3 abreast into turn 1, and we cut through the middle of Behrman and Hulkenberg. For a second I thought we were going to get boxed in, but we played that really nicely, going from the right to the middle, setting ourselves up. Fair play to Hulkenberg. I didn't think he was actually going to commit and make it 3 wide into turn 1. I thought it was just going to be a battle between me and Behrman, but alas, we had to do a little bit of, feathering the throttle to make sure we just cut our way through without any major contact, as we see no major contact for the 2 Ferrari drivers for now, but they're getting very familiar with each other in this race, and that's just allowing Norris to pull away slightly. So I feel like Ferrari need to deploy a different tactic of maybe being less aggressive with each other if they want to try and have a go at Lando Norris for the race win, maybe, as you can clearly see we're being pressurized by Hulkenberg as he re-overtakes us now. So I was pretty damn happy with my double overtake, but these guys clearly have enough speed to come back at us, and it's a nice squabble. I'm hoping long term we can beat them too, as we're trying to suss out a good racing line. Hulkenberg's being a real menace though. That's the second time we've basically eaten his rear end there, and a third time now. We're getting very familiar with Nico Hulkenberg's rear end, it would seem. Not like that, but you know what I mean. As we get on to lap number 8, Gasly now having a look at that mirror. The Frenchman having a little nip at our heels on the last corner. So are we starting to lose some performance? Is the tyre wear hurting us a little bit? Because Gasly giving a bit of a chew to us is a surprise, I can't lie, but we're still keeping in touch with Hulkenberg and Behrman, which is at least promising. But now a train is forming with Gasly behind, as Tramnitz overtakes Hadjar and quietly has got up to P15. I'm actually quite impressed with Tramnitz. P15 there for the F3 driver, lower than 70 rated. That's pretty good. That's quite promising, as Lawson, pulls off an amazing overtake on Stroll. The AI continue to impress me. Up and down the field, they're making some great moves. That was a great one from Lawson. And yeah, Tramnitz showing the upgrades are clearly working, as Hamilton once again overtaking Leclerc, the 2 Scuderia swapping again. But the gap is just still nearly about 1.7 to 2 seconds to Lando Norris. So the Ferraris are not helping their case and working as a team today, it would seem, as up and down the field moves being made on this back straight. So yeah, Hulkenberg nearly lost the entire back end there. What was going on? As Ocon has a go at Gasly, and the 2 Frenchmen, former teammates in Alpine, of course, a bit of French-on-French civil war going on, and that's helping us because Gasly is now all of a sudden 1.6 behind. Behrman's in the pits, Hulkenberg came in, and we continue on. I don't know what these guys are doing behind us. I have a hunch some of them are on 2 stops, but I actually think, well, I don't know, I think Gasly's on a 1-stop with us because he's carried on, but he's clearly facing more tyre wear than me because he's 2 seconds behind us now, nearly 3 seconds by the time we get to the last sector on lap 10. But you can see now my tyre wear is quite severe. We've got the orange icon. That's how you know it's pretty worn out. Slightly higher engine temperatures, even though, by the way, I did change components. So it seems like maybe in the traffic and dirty air on this game, engine temperatures just creep up a lot quicker than they did on previous F1 games. But I think this is the time to come in. Lap 10, 15 laps on hards. I back myself, because the thing is, these mediums felt a bit second-hand since about lap 7, lap 6, and we carried on, we soldiered on. Like I said, we channeled our inner Jenson button, smooth as we can. Obviously, maybe not whilst we're battling people. And I think we did some good work to stretch that stint to lap 10. Technically onto lap 11 as we come onto hards. We're going to come out in P21, but there are a lot of people to make a second stop in this race. I'm adamant of that. So it's just about being patient, and we are going to catapult ourselves up the order. How far? I don't know, but we're about to find out. But on the end of that lap, a lot of fighting going on ahead of us in the pack of Stroll, Lawson, Hulkenberg, and the two Haas cars as we are gaining on that pack rapidly and just trying to already figure out in the cockpit when we can make a move and where to make the move as well. And one of them's going to come here as from so far back. We're going to absolutely launch it. You would have thought we were in a different Middle Eastern country from how far back we were versus Behrman. And we're up into P19 as I want to get a move on. These hards are feeling good. They're feeling decent, and they're rubbering up quicker than they were clearly for others at previous venues like Australia, for example, and Suzuka. So we're going to try and make quick work of these guys. Ocon, though, has the same idea on Lawson. I think Lawson's been on those same tyres since the start of the Grand Prix as we try and follow Ocon all the way around the outside. Foot to the floor, commit, and it's an exquisite little overtake on the RB to get up into well, 18 only right now, but I'm still pretty damn happy with that overtake because you have to be very careful on the outside not to heat up the rear tyres and get a spin and a tank slapper going on. And immediately, having made that move on Lawson, we're going to launch ourselves towards Ocon and Stroll. We were trying to overtake Ocon originally when we made the move on Lawson, so can we finally now get the Frenchman in the Haas and also Stroll, as Ocon just keeps throwing cars in between us, it would seem, as we go for another ballsy dive across Ocon's racing line. And a little bit frustratingly for him, we took him a bit wide, so he might be a little bit peeved at that, and he's going to come back at us because Stroll peels into the pits. We made the double overtake, but Ocon will come back at us. Can we repass him though into turn one, side by side? And as we finish off the move on Ocon, we come out just pin perfectly behind Antonelli. Tsunoda, annoyingly for him, comes out in the traffic in between both of the Haas guys. But yeah, we've got Antonelli for company now. He's also on hard, so you can see the tyre wear difference. Mercedes was able to extend their medium for 3 more laps, whereas we couldn't hack it any longer. So that's the, plain in sight best illustration of the tyre upgrade differences team to team, as we now cut on though to Lando Norris and Hamilton being held up by Fernando Alonso. He's yet to pit 3 wide. Hamilton, Fernando and Lando. Incredible stuff as the two of them obviously racing for position. Alonso's out of sync. He peels into the pits, but the damage is done. Alonso has held up Norris and Hamilton, but in a way he's allowed Hamilton to get the jump on Lando Norris. But look at this on the top left, Piastri and Leclerc, they're 1 and 2. How's that happened? So it was Lando P1, Hamilton P2, Leclerc was 3rd, Piastri 4th, and now that's been swapped. The two of them behind, and now the 2 cars ahead. Leclerc leads the Saudi Arabian Grand Prix, and this is how. Piastri and Leclerc, they came in on lap 11 for their pit stop, and clearly the undercar has worked wonders for them as they came in on this lap. The next one, Lando and Lewis are in, and they're going to come out behind Piastri and Leclerc. And Piastri and Leclerc, they also met a slow Fernando Alonso, but the difference is they got him straight away. Piastri makes quick work, and look at Leclerc. He went from the right to the left, punchy as ever from Charles, and he gets the move, and they both don't waste any time being stuck behind Alonso, whereas Lando and Hamilton, they've already been undercut, and then they got held up more by Alonso, and then that obviously allowed Hamilton to close up to Lando. So Alonso's caused a bit of havoc there, and it's a 1-3 now for Ferrari as we come back to the focus of where our race is. And just like Alonso, we're seeing 2 Saubers annoying the heck out of Albon and Antonelli as well, because Albon and Antonelli, they were running in the top 10 the Saubers definitely aren't running in the top 10. I think they're on a 2-stop, and so they're bunching us all up. And now I sense we can catch Antonelli napping because he's making a rookie error by leaving the door open on the outside. He may have thought he was defending, but he just compromised his line. And so, driving as the 2009 world champion, we have taken Kimi the rookie to school there in turn 1 and taught him a lesson of leaving the outside wide open. It's important to defend, but not when you're compromising your own line like that. And now we have got first pick at attacking Bortoleto. But look ahead of us, Hulkenberg's actually overtaken Albon again, so they're really annoying the Williams and the Merc, of course, as we make quick work of Bortoleto on the inside. It's clear as day. I am actually really enjoying this hard tyre. It is working for us very nicely. In a similar way to Bahrain. You know, the first 2 rounds didn't really use we didn't use the hards at all, but now the last 2, they've been really decent at these higher abrasion circuits as we now gain on Hulkenberg. But to my surprise, that was Albon peeling into the pits. So Albon is bailed onto a 2-stop. So who is on a 1-stop with me here? Antonelli only, maybe, as we go down the inside of Hulkenberg. He's on the mediums, so he's definitely coming in again. But we've done ourselves a favour by getting into that clean air. And honestly, when making that overtake, it was so incredible to get that free air in Sector 1. It makes such a difference. And speaking about clean air, well, these two are fighting for P1's clean air. Leclerc and Piastri side by side for the race lead as we're getting into the last third of this Grand Prix. The McLaren streaks ahead with DRS and claims P1. Leclerc down to second, and look who's arriving on the scene. Hamilton and Lando Norris. This is maybe going to turn into a 4-way scrap for the win. Meanwhile, there's still a monumental battle going on for the last points-paying positions between Antonelli, Alonso and Tsunoda as Hulkenberg peels in. And at this point now, we can establish now clearly, we are legitimately, because we're going to the end, we are legit in the fight for not only points, but maybe P7, because Antonelli, Alonso and Tsunoda, all 3 of those guys, they're going to the end on their hards. That's a little bit nerve-wracking having those 3 behind me. 3 very quick cars / driver combos, and well, they're fighting each other so much. Please carry on, lads, because you'll give me a bit of a break, but I'm just waiting for one of them to pull away and start closing me down. So the question will be, how much can we defend and how high can we finish in the points today, maybe? As we now focus back on the fight at the front, Hamilton on board with him, watching Leclerc and Piastri, and now gunning for the lead himself. Hamilton going for 1, 2 overtakes. It's side by side for the Ferraris, though. Piastri's been absolutely mugged off, and it's now a 1-2 for Ferrari. The prancing horses are in control here. In Jeddah, Leclerc actually manages to stay ahead of Lewis. But we've got a cracking development here. Ferrari out of nowhere. Where has this pace come from? Ferrari fans can only hope for this in real life. They've been nowhere near this IRL. But they're 1-2 at the moment with about 6 laps to go. Meanwhile, back at our race, Antonelli is well within a second. He's broken away from Alonso and Tsunoda. And I'm not even going to bother fighting this. I'm actually going to actively put this into non-ERS, because I know he was going to overtake me. I'd rather get the DRS off him and just use him as a horse to my carriage. You've heard me use that analogy plenty of times before. It's the concept of, look, we're always going to get overtaken by these guys. But if we use Antonelli for DRS and we're just able to stay within 1 second of him constantly, he can pull us along, and I'd rather finish 8th place than get overtaken by these 2 trying to defend 7th place. So we're giving up 7th in order to keep 8th place, I'm hoping. That's the thinking, at least. And thankfully, you can see Tsunoda and Alonso, they've got the bit between their teeth. They're fighting each other, hammer and tong, so viciously in Sector 1 here. I mean, it's incredible to watch. Look at the commitment from Alonso on the inside of the double left-hander. Incredible stuff from Fernando. The 2-time champion still got it at his old age, but they've lost 2 seconds to to me and Antonelli. So this is working. We've got the DRS on Kimi and, well, now there's a virtual safety car, but now there's nearly 3 seconds to Alonso. So I'm just praying that we can keep this going and we can just use Kimi to the end and get P8. And in fact, on the start of the virtual safety car restart, I actually, for the second time today, I'm going to school the rookie Kimi Antonelli and absolutely do him. Oh, with the switchback there, that was satisfying. That was satisfying. He's going to overtake us straight away, and he's actually going to get a little bit annoyed at us maybe with a little love tap there from Antonelli. Maybe just showing his frustration of being embarrassed twice in the same Grand Prix at turn 1 and off the safety, off the virtual safety car restart. I had to do it to him, okay? We're driving as JB. We've got to show the experience we have as the 2009 world champion, you know, versus a rookie in his 4th race only in Formula 1. Meanwhile, elsewhere at the top end, the fighting is not over, and this time it's Ferrari on Ferrari. Who is going to win this one? Or will the Ferraris, in very apt style, will they fight each other too much and invite Lando Norris through, who is in 3rd place now? Leclerc and Hamilton are now going to have to defend against Lando Norris. Leclerc has to cover off Lando. Hamilton on the outside. There's still 3 wide on the exit of turn 2. What an incredible battle. Who's going to come out on top? Hamilton round the outside. Oh, he schooled them. What a move from the 7-time world champion. Lewis Hamilton still rises again here in Jeddah. What a move on his teammate. And you know what? He has now run away with it. 2 seconds the gap because Leclerc's too busy fighting the McLarens in a weird way now. This kind of looks like Leclerc is sacrificing himself in order to try and keep a Ferrari 1-2 because he's blocking the McLarens chasing after Lewis. The gap is 2.4 to the 7-time world champion. Leclerc is doing the Lord's work. Lord Percival, he is in the cockpit right now. He is doing absolute wonders for Hamilton's race and Ferrari's because he'll actually maintain 2nd place here. Will he? No. I think Lando actually learned from the 3-way fight into that corner and he really committed to the inside. So alas, after all that effort, it might not be a 1-2 for Ferrari. But Leclerc, the damage has been done. Hamilton is actually going to maybe win this race. He is going to get his first full Grand Prix victory for Ferrari in the 4th race at Saudi Arabia. As we go back to our race, still looking at the back end of Antonelli, the man who's been helping us with DRS, but we're now 4.7 seconds ahead of 9th place. We are guaranteed 8th place, but now I'm thinking, can we grab 7th onto the last lap? Antonelli is vulnerable. We fake to the We fake from the left. We go right on the outside. We're going to get the elbows out. And we're going to give it everything now on this last lap to try and get P7. We might be racing as Jenson Button, but my personal lucky number is number 7. So I think it would be quite fitting if we could get a 7th place for Button's first points for this aarava Archer Racing team. That would certainly tick my box for being, written in the stars, as it were. As Lewis Hamilton, though, comes around the final bend, it's going to be his first victory this season, and his first victory for Scuderia Ferrari. Lewis Hamilton wins the Saudi Arabian Grand Prix in some fashion, 3 seconds ahead of the next car. And now we go back to our POV. Well, JB and Lewis used to be McLaren teammates. Can we ascend and maximise our result in the same way Lewis has today? Antonelli technically actually makes an overtake here, but we're just going to jockey for position. We've got battery, crucially, to just dump it and go to the end. It's gonna be P7 at Jeddah. Best result this season yet, and it's a lucky number P7 finish, driving as Button. Oh, it's meant to be. It's meant to be. That is aarava Archer Racing vintage stuff.
And Lewis Hamilton takes the checkered flag and once again wins.
Well, it's never easy and straightforward to put a race like this together today, Crofty, in changeable weather conditions, but they did the best job out there. They used the information wisely and they stayed on the track. That was the most important thing.
It's what every driver imagines when they start out on their long road towards Formula One. And for our lucky three today, here's the podium waiting for them. It's a familiar sight in Formula One, and here it is once again. Lewis Hamilton with the trophy held high, celebrating a masterful victory.
Insanity, absolute insanity race there from Lewis and from ourselves. What did I say? I thought we could score points, and we scored more than just a couple of points. We scored big there with a P7, the lucky number P7. It was meant to be. We may have scored points first with Tramnitz, but scoring a P7 with JB as his first point-scoring race back in Formula One, meant to be. It's catapulted us way up the order in the Constructors, but it's so early days. I'm not going to buy into anything that's, you know, where we are, but it's just like, it's just great to bank some points like that because, for example, next race is Miami. I've always been horrendous at Miami, so I think it's going to be very tough to score points there, for example. So points are never promised, but our fan rating has gone up. We've got a good racing sentiment, or recent sentiment, so that's really good to see as a new mechanic. And on the note of this team having already scored points and scoring big points today, relative to being a new team in Formula One, I've seen the comments. There are so many variabilities when it comes to playing the F1 game. The AI, track to track, they're quicker and faster at some circuits than others. Track to track, the My Team car is quicker and slower at other circuits. Australia, it definitely is quicker than it is around Bahrain. Case in point of the performance difference you saw in this series from part 1 to part 3. And then also, obviously, you, the driver, me, the driver, are quicker at certain circuits compared to others. So there always is going to be a bit of variability and maybe a chance to score points, even in Season 1. And not that I need to prove it to anyone, because I don't care about this, frankly. But here we are. Here's some proof. This was before qualifying, going into this very race weekend. 110 AI, and we scored points. So this is probably the first time in a long while, and probably the last time in a while, I will address this because I simply don't care. Those of you who are regular viewers to the channel, not new viewers just passing by, regular ones, know what the deal is with me and career mode. It is not about impressing anyone with my driving. It is about creating an immersive and fun story and having fun racing AI and creating a story that we can together get lost in, and you can buy into the story and watch it season after season and see how the transfers ebb and flow and the rivalries on track and etc. So it's the last time I'll verbally speak about it in the series, and I'm putting this at the very end of the video so that the people who are really committed to the series are hearing it, because I don't really care for any of the passerbyers that are like commenting that, and then they probably won't even watch multiple episodes of the rest of the series. They're just coming here to say whatever, and don't really care about what we're trying to do here on the channel with the career mode series, with the story building. But I just thought I'd put that out there at the end of the episode to kind of squash any random comments. But anyway, guys, if you have enjoyed this one, hit the like button. Let me know what you thought in the comments below. And you're around here, then do get subscribed for weekly Formula One content. I'll see you guys next time. Goodbye.